So many Starbucks baristas depend on SNAP and Medicaid. Why does a multi-billion-dollar corporation have employees that are subsidized by the government? That just doesn't compute.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. I am your guest host, Chris Keene. Starbucks workers are on strike. Breaking. Starbucks workers have launched a massive nationwide strike. Baristas in 40 cities have walked off the job on the busiest day of Starbucks year. Jesus. That's a lot of unemployed open mic comedians. Let me tell you guys. That's upwards of 12,000 Starbucks members could ultimately go on strike as the union escalates. Starbucks union baristas walk out on Red Cup Day and push for contracts talks. All right.
More than 1,000 Starbucks unionized baristas in over 40 U.S. cities launched an indefinite strike on Thursday, intensifying their push for a collective bargaining agreement over increasing pay and staffing levels. Ray Shao is a supervisor at this downtown Manhattan location.
What we're asking for is pretty simple and basic. We want enough hours to meet the benefits. We want enough staffing in our stores so we're not overworked, and we want to be paid enough to live in this city.
The walkout coincides with Red Cup Day, a busy sales event that typically drives higher customer visits. The union warned the strike.
I'm sorry, I'm with these people, but this is like one of the funniest protests I've ever seen. There's only like 3 people there. It looks like a comedy sketch of a protest.
Could become the largest and longest in the history of Starbucks. So far, there has been minimal impact, with less than 1% of stores
like an
seeing
SNL
any
sketch.
disruption. That's according to Starbucks, which told Reuters the union represents roughly 9,500 workers, or 4% of its cafe workers.
It looks like ChatGPT made these signs, too. I remember when we used to draw the signs ourselves.
You know what? I would say, though, if I saw that sign, no contract nor Starbucks, I wouldn't cross it. I wouldn't cross that picket. I wouldn't at all. You know, it's about your fellow workers. So it's like, if you see that picket sign and they don't have a contract, why are you, as if you can't get coffee anywhere else?
Well, you can't get egg white bites anywhere else, though, Steph.
Right.
So.
Corrected. Thank
Sorry.
The union voted to reject a Starbucks proposal that guaranteed annual raises of at least 2%. Saying it did not offer changes to economic benefits such as health care or an immediate pay hike.
And meanwhile, our CEO is making $96 million, and for only 4 months of work. And meanwhile, our CEO is riding in a private jet, and I'm barely able to afford the MTA fare to go to work.
The union has filed more than 1,000 charges to the National Labor Relations Board for alleged unfair labor practices. Starbucks has said it pays an average wage of $19 an hour and offers employees who work at least 20 hours a week benefits, including health care, parental leave, and tuition for online classes at Arizona State University. The union has said starting wages are $15.25 per hour in about 33 states, and the average barista gets less than 20 hours per week.
$15 an hour. Who can survive on $15 an hour, even working full time, let alone 20 hours a week? I don't. Certainly not in LA, you couldn't do that.
Both sides have blamed the other for stalling the talks and say they are ready to return to the bargaining table.
All right. So the strike comes as CEO Brian Niccol shuts hundreds of underperforming stores, including the unionized flagship Seattle location, and focuses on improving service times and in-store experience to revive demand in the U.S. Talks between the union and the company ended in December after stretching for about 8 months last year, following which the workers went on strike during the key holiday period. Niccol had said in September last year when he took over as CEO that he was committed to dialogue. Guess not. However, Lynn Fox, the union's international president, said on a call with journalists that things changed once Niccol took office. Shocker. A year into Niccol's tenure, negotiations have gone backwards after months of steady progress and good faith negotiations, Fox said. This is not the first time that the union is going on a strike on Red Cup Day, when Starbucks hands out reusable red holiday-themed cups to customers for free on coffee purchases. In 2022, Workers at about 100 stores went on a one-day strike on Red Cup Day in protest against firings and store closures that they said were illegal retaliation by Starbucks against them. Workers at hundreds of stores also walked off their jobs on Red Cup Day in 2023, demanding improved staffing and schedules for the promotional event, which they said was one of the most infamously hard understaffed days. Here we have a tweet from the union. As of today, Starbucks workers across the country are officially on strike, and we're prepared for this to become the biggest and longest ULP strike in Starbucks history. Say no contract, no coffee with us. Don't buy Starbucks for the duration of our open-ended ULP strike. All right, we have another Zoran here. Look at this. All right, Zoran. Zoran says, Starbucks workers across the country are on an unfair labor practices strike, fighting for a fair contract. While workers are on strike, I won't be buying any Starbucks, and I'm asking you to join us. Together we can send a powerful message: no contract, no coffee. Starbucks CEO Brian Niccol raked in over $95 million last year. There you go, right there. Yeah, it's not enough. I know some baristas that made that. No? You're not making $95 million down at Starbucks 20 hours a week? Come on. You have to work hard. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. All right. The California Federation of Labor Unions tweets, while Starbucks workers struggle to make ends meet, CEO Brian Niccol's sky-high compensation gave Starbucks the worst CEO-to-worker pay ratio of any S&P 500 company last year. He made 6,666 times the workers' median pay in 2024, nearly $98 million in annualized total compensation. I wouldn't even know what to do with $98 million. That is compared to a typical Starbucks barista who made less than $15,000. Wow. So many baristas rely on SNAP and Medicaid. Why does a multi-billion-dollar company have employees subsidized by the government? Ask Starbucks workers. It's crazy. Starbucks baristas launched the largest unfair labor practice strike in the company's history this morning. More than 1,000 workers in 40 cities picketed outside their stores, protesting Starbucks' refusal to return to the bargaining table with real proposals. The union says it's prepared to escalate if the company doesn't respond.
Every Starbucks barista is suffering right now.
Yeah.
All of the policies that have rolled out under Brian Niccol have only made workers' jobs harder, and they've not improved the environments in these stores. They have not improved the customer experience at all, which is why we've actually only seen our organizing increase under the reign of Brian Niccol. We've organized over 160 stores, I think, just since he stepped into that role. So non-union or union, workers are recognizing that this company is not willing to step up and take care of them. They are willing to invest millions upon millions of dollars in other places, like $96 million pay package that Brian Niccol got for just the first 4 months of his employment with the company. They spent $81 million on a 4-day managers conference in Vegas this past June. So we know the company has money. They are obviously not hurting for money. But unfortunately, they're not investing in their hourly workforce, the people who bring in that revenue, the people who create those relationships with the customers that get them to come back into these stores and spend money every single day. They're not putting the money in the right place. And the unionized workers are fighting very hard to improve this business. Like, we want the company to be successful. We want the company to succeed. It would be counterproductive for us to not want that. And we've presented a lot of options to the company to help fix these issues. Wouldn't it be nice to walk into a Starbucks for your peppermint mocha this holiday season and not have to wait 40 minutes, not have to see 2 or 3 baristas running around doing the job of 5 or 6 people because they simply have not allotted enough labor to cover the business that store is doing? It's wild to me when we see, or I hear.
I've worked jobs like that. I've worked at a bar and a kitchen and that's understaffed because the company doesn't want to hire more people. It's a total nightmare, and you don't get compensated properly for it most of the time, especially working for these large corporations.
Managers say something like, "Oh, well, people just don't want to work." There are baristas who are dying for hours, who are begging to be scheduled so that they can pay their bills, so that they can qualify for these amazing benefits the company says they offer. And they're just simply not being scheduled. So this is not a matter of not having enough workers. It's a matter of not scheduling these workers enough to cover the needs of the business and to make sure that they have the ability to qualify for benefits and pay their bills. So many Starbucks baristas depend on SNAP and Medicaid. Why is a multi-billion-dollar corporation have employees that are subsidized by the government? That just doesn't compute, right?
Great point.
And so we're done waiting around. Baristas are tired. This will get bigger. It will be the biggest and longest strike in company history if the company doesn't return to meet the demands.
The baristas are out of work, guys. Hair dye sales going way down. Let me tell you, they're not going to have any money to buy that. Did you know in the spring, Starbucks brought in new CEO Brian Niccol with promises of brewing something new and bringing back customers to the coffee giant? Has it worked? According to customers, long waits persist, service is sluggish, and drinks aren't ready on time. Starbucks' turnaround plan isn't turning much around. It's making Brian Niccol a lot of money. I think that's what it's turning around. Customers report long lines, slow service, and they're visiting less often. In 2024, Starbucks hired turnaround expert Brian Niccol as the new CEO. Niccol promised coffee in 30 seconds and custom drinks in under 4 minutes. Despite new policies, long waits remain the biggest in-store complaint at Starbucks. 33% of customers report long lines and slow service in August 2025, nearly unchanged from 2024. 54% of customers say they'd be more likely to go to Starbucks if the stores added staff. So it would only help the business to add workers or to give these people more hours. So you're just hurting your own business, I guess, so Brian Niccol can make more money? Is that the idea here? 86% of frequent customers say wait times have gotten worse or stayed the same in 2025. And here we go. The average CEO is paid 351 times as much as a typical worker in their industry. 351 times. Now, we talked about recently on the show that is up from 1980. It was 40 times. A CEO would make 40 times what a worker made in 1980. Now it's 351 times what a worker makes. I don't see how this is sustainable for our country or for business in general. CEOs make 632 times their average worker. And look at Starbucks here up at the top, way above all these other giant companies. So that is, and it's crazy. You have stuff like this, and then people go, why are people voting for Zoran Mamdani? Why are they voting for Donald Trump? Why would they vote for these people? Depending on what side you're on, you're going to question, why would they vote for that person? This is why. This is why right here. This is why people want change and are looking outside of establishment politicians. They can't afford to live in this country anymore. We can't afford our bills. The jobs are disappearing. That's why people vote for Zoran or Donald Trump, depending on your political point of view. So, yeah. Don't be surprised when people want change when this is going on.
Come see us in Australia. Second show's added in Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane. We'll see you in Burbank, California, the day after Thanksgiving. It's a Friday. And then Pottstown, Pennsylvania, December 6th. Plus, January 11th, we're going to be in Waikiki at the Blue Note. Tickets not available yet for them, but go to jimmydore.com for a link for all the other tickets.